Welcome to Moon Harbor Heroes. Today's issue is Faces Issue 10, Reunion. On the cover, Violet Starling and Ryder Typhon sit in a small room watching a security monitor while eating snacks. On the monitor, we can see Faye and Carl in a kitchen, holding hands and talking. In the bottom right corner, we see a silver embossed logo in bold letters, Blockade. We turn the page and our story begins.
We open up on Ryder and Lighthammer on Ryder's motorcycle arriving at your home. I don't know if we've seen it from the outside before. Do you want to give us what that looks like?
It is a high-rise tower in the middle of Moon Harbor. My actual where I actually live is the entire tower. We have officially have the top two floors are Hyuns, but the rest of it is undisclosed as of right now. My room is whichever room I decided to use that day.
Lighthammer looks at the building and whistles and is like, "All right, sweet digs."
Yeah. I've lived in that room, and I think I found my training room up on the fourth floor, up there in the far corner. In all of these panels, Ryder is pointing at various points of the building.
Lighthammer is following you, kind of smiling, but then says, "Ugh, and I thought I was the spoiled celebrity."
Ryder's gonna turn his head and keep in mind he's not in his, he doesn't have his headgear on. He turns and looks at Lighthammer and goes, "Yeah, you are. Let's go inside."
I think our next panel is going to open inside your sanctuary because you took that advance. So, you want to give us the lay of your sanctuary?
Yeah, the sanctuary to get okay. First, we're gonna kind of underline getting into the sanctuary. There's as we walk into the lobby of the building, we walk over to the elevator, and of course, I actually press the up arrow. You hear the elevator come up or come down to take us up. We get in, I would assume, and you're going to see Ryder in a panel press 4 buttons really fast on the keypad. Now, these buttons have no numbers on them, or at least no numbers in the actual panel. And then the elevator lurches. You're going to see the lurch sound, and then it's going to go down into the basement. As we're walking into the sanctuary, there are multiple doors and locks and things that have to be bypassed, including an eye system, a fingerprint reader, a voice recognition reader, and then we're inside. And for all of the grandeur getting inside, what's inside is relatively simple. It looks like your basic tech center. A large supercomputer on the left-hand wall, a nice little meeting table. I say nice meeting table in the center of the room. The right-hand wall is covered in lockers and training equipment. And then past the supercomputer on the left-hand wall is a small room or a hallway that leads back to the refreshments room.
You get another one of those wolf whistles from Lighthammer, and he immediately goes over and starts tapping on the computer.
Don't do that. Don't do that. It needs my voice recognition anyways. I got this from Leo. He just showed me that we had it a couple weeks ago, but I really haven't been down here but once. It's a little dusty. And as he says that, he runs his finger across the table, and a pound of dust is on his fingers. And I want a close-up panel on that pound of dust on his fingers before he then walks over to Lighthammer and politely moves Lighthammer out of the way to sit down in the supercomputer chair before tapping some keys and then opening the computer.
Lighthammer sits on the arm of the chair, very Bond girl style, over the top, sexual and fluid and drapey. And he's like, "So we need information about these pins." And he holds up the pin from the previous issue with Ryder, where we saw the Cult of the White Death, and they all had the White Death logo pins. And he's like, "So can your supercomputer search by an image?" And Lighthammer just like holds it up at the computer screen to see if it's going to do anything.
And I think we get a panel of the computer screen, and we get an alert with a video feed from probably the elevator in like the downstairs lobby of Faye trying to buzz into the elevator.
Ryder is going to hit a button on the. He's going to reach up, grab the pin, and say, "Not like that." And he's going to paste the pin. He's going to place it in a little container box to the right, and he's going to close the box on it, and it's going to do a little scan on it. And then Ryder's going to say to Lighthammer, he says, "That's how you get an image of whatever we need." Anyways, and then he's going to reach over and press another button and say, "Come on down." And the elevator, the buttons that he pressed earlier are all going to light up, and the elevator's going to begin coming down. At the same time, I would say that you're going to see like the automatopoeias of the lock system unlocking to let Faye in.
As Faye's coming down, Lighthammer is like, "So that your, I don't know, your ex-girlfriend or something?"
Best friend. And no, not quite into her like that. And as he's saying that, he's just tip tap tip tap tap tap.
Lighthammer leans down and is like, "So who are you into like that?"
He looks up and he kind of turns his head, like kind of smirks and says, "Wouldn't you like to know?" And then goes back to typing on his it's a computer. Typing on his computer.
I think that before you turn back, I think we have the panels like you turning and looking at Lighthammer, and like the two of us are like in silhouette with like the computer light behind us, and like very, very close together. And then we get the panel of you saying, "Wouldn't you like to know?" And then the next panel is Lighthammer in the same position, but you've turned back and kept working.
I love it. I absolutely love it.
And I think the next panel is just that same panel, but like pulled back. And we just see Lighthammer just like fully like falling backwards, like off the arm of the chair. Like mostly out of dramatics. It was mostly like, I'm going to fling myself in the most over the top way possible. But also, he probably lost his balance in there and fell a little bit.
May I suggest that the next panel is Faye entering?
That's exactly what I was going to say.
Excellent.
Awesome.
And here we go. 2 people in one scene.
You got this. I believe in you.
Faye looks at everyone and is like, "Well, this looks like a party."
Only if you think supercomputers, strange pens, and whatever's happening right there is a party. Whenever he says whatever's happening right there, he kind of glances down at Lighthammer and then turns back to what he was doing.
She cocks an eyebrow as you two make eye contact. And then she like goes to offer a hand to Lighthammer. And she's like, "Hi, I'm Faye. And you are..." And then Lighthammer like pulls himself to his feet and like shoves his hand very aggressively into hers. And is like, "I'm Lighthammer. I'm sure you've heard of me." And Faye says, "No, I really haven't." And I think we see the panel of like Lighthammer, just like a close-up panel of his face, and it's just furious. And like you can see like explosions in his eyes.
Is Lighthammer's helmet on?
No.
Okay.
I think that the next panel that happens is like the two of them like facing off, and then above them, we see like the computer pull up information on the White Death.
As soon as the stuff pops up on the screen, Ryder's going to say, "Well, if you two are done being busy with each other, we've got something."
Faye looks up and immediately is like, "Wait, hold on. That looks like cult stuff. I've got something on that. Hold on." And she like starts looking in her backpack to like pull out some information. And as she's doing that, she's like, "By the way, are Carl and Violet back yet?"
Yeah, they arrived back a little while ago.
"I'm not exactly looking forward to that reunion. Nothing like kissing a boy then disappearing for a couple days to really spark the romance."
Wait.
Lighthammer snorts.
Oh, okay. I was gonna okay, you continue.
Nope, just Lighthammer snorts. Faye finished talking. Lighthammer is being a dick.
Wait. Ryder looks up at Faye and kind of cocks an eyebrow before just ignoring the situation, going back to typing on the computer. and pulling up more information. And then he says, "So these books, Lighthammer, would you like to fill Faye in on what just happened with us?"
Lighthammer looks between the two of you and is like, actually, I think you can probably do it. I'm just gonna go. I feel like I'm third wheeling here. Lighthammer leans down and kisses you on the cheek, pulls back, winks at Faye, and then walks out. And like Lighthammer doesn't close the door behind himself, but the door slams shut as soon as he's gone. Because Faye does it telepathically.
Ryder's face is in full blush, and as his face is in full blush, you're going to see his helmet just materialize over his face to cover the blush.
Faye sits on the edge of the desk and is like, you and I will eventually have to talk about that, but, I feel like this is more important. So I pull out the 2 books and the flash drive that I stole from the Cult of the White Death facility a few issues ago. And I'm like, the stuff you're looking up right now, that's related to my whole thing. That's the cult. Remember, we broke in there a couple weeks ago. Here, this is all the stuff I could get from their computer, and these books might be able to help you, I don't know, track down a location. They're getting ready for something big, and I don't know what it is.
Okay, give me a second. He's going to take the flash drive, and he's going to stick it in a USB hub, and he's going to press another button on his computer and say, "Computer, check this for viruses, then upload the data," and then turns around and opens one of the books, and he goes, "This is fascinating stuff. Wait, what are they planning?"
I have no idea. Some kind of big ritual, from what I could gather, but I don't know what they're doing with it.
And I think on the computer in the background, we see a progress bar as it's scanning. And we're also seeing like various security feeds from around the tower. And notably, we see Carl in the kitchen on security feed.
Faye looks up and is like, well, it looks like this is going to take a minute. If you want to do some reading, I should probably go say hi to Carl.
Yeah, that might be best. Hey, while you're at it, could you ask him how he got in here? He says that kind of offhandedly before getting back to work on the computer.
If I remember. But I'm going to be more focused on telling him about your new boy toy. And with that, she leaves.
So we cut from that scene to the kitchen of the Ryder estate. Carl, what's Carl doing in the kitchen when Faye enters?
He's probably getting a drink with a novelty straw.
I walk in the room. I see you getting a drink from your novelty straw. And I say, hey, it's been a bit.
Oh, hi.
How was your vacation?
Oh, it was really cool. Did you know that in Egypt, ships can fly?
No, I didn't know that in Egypt ships can fly. Like, wait, like airplanes? Because those are a thing everywhere.
No, it was definitely a ship in the sky.
Like a pirate ship? Huh. The more you know, I guess. So, listen, I feel like I should explain what's been going on. Because, like, we kissed. And then we have been
We
seeing each other
did.
for like 2 weeks now. Or a week or whatever. So, yeah. When Ryder ran out of your place, I know it was terrible for me to leave. I shouldn't have done that. But Felix is my best friend, and after everything that happened with AM and everything, I couldn't stand the thought of losing another best friend, so I had to go after him.
I understand. Bert was hurt. Everybody needs to go.
Yeah, how is Bert doing?
He's fine.
Well, good. Then I kind of got, a little kidnapped, occult stuff. And then when I was done, you were gone. So it's been a bit, and I just wanted to make sure we're okay.
Are we still friends?
I kind of thought we were more than that.
At this point, you just see a massive grin on Carl's face. Okay. He slurps from his drink.
I think we get a panel of the two of you slurping, and then like another panel where I just like slump against a wall, and I'm like, wow, that was so much less complicated than I thought it was gonna be.
Everything is simple if you just remember the mayonnaise.
I cock an eyebrow at you. Mayonnaise?
It's a long story.
I look forward to hearing it.
Okay, so we get the last panel of Faye and Carl, but the panel is now like through like that security footage grain, and we zoom back out to Felix and Estelle back in the sanctuary.
So, Ryder, why didn't you guys tell me that the intergalactic expose was happening here in Moon Harbor?
Not trying to be weird, but I actually didn't. And before he's able to finish that sentence, alerts pop up all over the computer specifically about the blockade. And he's like, Faye, Carl, we have a problem.
I think we get Faye and Carl entering through the portal in the next panel. So everyone's back in the same room.
Faye,
Damn.
what the hell is going on? There's alerts going on the screen. Various news events about the blockade. You see maybe a news event about the Supai, the ship being blown up. You may see one news article about the Faces characters. Maybe one
We
Max's
definitely get a news
Instagram
article.
feed.
We definitely get a news article with like Supai throwing a piece of the wing of the ship through the ship, like in the background. I have an important question for Faye and Carl. Are you all holding hands when you step through the portal?
I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
Okay.
I'm gonna look at the screen and be like, wait, did you all not know about this? Where have you been for the past week?
Apparently not getting tickets for the intergalactic freaking expose, damn it.
Yeah, so quick rundown. Glacier got kidnapped by the Asterons. Someone tried to break them out, someone being apparently Supai. I didn't realize that, but that's them on the screen there. My friend Supai, who I just mentioned.
I think this panel was presented like it's a full page with Faye in the middle explaining all this, and like the word bubbles going in an arc around her with
Absolutely.
small like panels of like stills of each event.
Glacier got kidnapped by the Asterons. Someone tried to break them out. I guess it was Supai, my friend right there, who I just mentioned. And then they blew up the main like mothership of the Asterons. In result, the Asterons brought in about 45 more ships and have blocked off every entrance and exit to the city in hopes of starving us out and killing each and every one of us. Yeah, I think that's
I got
all of
it.
it.
Are these pirates?
Not quite. They're more like war criminals. Well, I guess technically we are the war criminals for blowing up their ship and killing their crew.
Well, this
But-
poses a problem. He interjects. Well, this poses a big problem to us. Dark Rider's last known hideout, and he turns to look at the screen. Dark Rider's last known hideout was actually outside of the city. If they're blocking us in and planning on killing us, that kind of puts a damper in my plans to get Hayun. Also,
I think at that point the alarm on going off behind in the computer silences, and we get a large like white text that just reads ritual matching parameters found, one result, and it's just this blinking.
Okay. Of course, Ryder's going to click that and find out exactly what that's going to say.
And we get a picture of these like elaborate symbols and various glyphs and such, and the takeaway from it is that it's a ritual that depends on the blood of a rider that is used to open interdimensional portals of very large size.
That could be a problem.
Yeah, quite a big one. Actually, want to look at Faye and it's like, do you think that's how Mary Louise is trying to get out of the city? Like, I'm going to tie this in and like thinking this is directly her like reacting to the blockade.
I think it might be her way of making it so there's no city to destroy or to get out of anymore. I think she might be trying to bring a demon into the world.
Okay, so what do we do?
And you said that the Cult of the White Death was working with Dark Rider, which means they've got to have a way to contact him. So somehow they can get to him if he's out of the city, or he's not out of the city and he's hiding somewhere protected by them.
The rituals have to have drawn structures and whatnot for them to work, right? That's how that magic stuff works, right?
Looks that way, yeah.
Well, if they're going to starve us all out, that means that's going to be for villains and for heroes. And if they destroy the city, that would put a damper on a lot of people's plans too. So, I mean, we shouldn't really concern ourselves with the villains as much as we should as the Astrons, right?
How do we fight 45 fully armed alien ships?
Personally, from my experience, it takes a lot to command that stuff, and if you cut off their communications, stuff tends to go haywire.
The screen behind changes as the computer finishes processing new information, and we get a notice saying possible date for the casting of this ritual established, and we get a date that is a day and a half from now, like the exact time and hour when the stars will be in the right position. There is also a notice on more information required to establish possible viable locations.
I'm gonna look at the date and be like, shit. Happy birthday to me.
Do we know where this is? Because maybe we can bring it to the Astron's attention and use them to help us.
That's not a terrible idea.
We bring the party to them.
Well, we just bring hell to meet hell.
If we can show the Asterons that Mary Louise and the Cult of the White Death are trying to bring in some like weapon of mass destruction, I bet they would take care of that for us.
Okay, Faye, do you have a plan on how we can do that? I mean, look at us. We're not exactly give me a name of like a Superman type character in the city.
Golden Spectre.
I think the one that comes to your mind is Lighthammer.
I'm trying to push that one out.
It's just a suggestion. I think you start saying like light and then say something else. That's my suggestion.
Yeah, I would actually do that and then say, who is the person? Golden what?
Golden Spectre.
Do we have someone like Golden Spectre?
I arch my eye when you start to say Lighthammer, and then I'm like, yeah, but, you know, we do have a couple contacts we could reach out to, and I think I might have something in my sanctuary that could help us. I think if we draw enough power to wherever the location of this thing is, I think we can probably make a big enough noise, big enough spectacle that people will come running.
So I do have one question. I know everything about, leading fire to meet fire, fighting fire with fire was my idea, but what do we do afterwards? Because I'm pretty sure they're going to think that the villains and we are working together. In some sense. And a weapon of mass destruction would be the same thing. I mean, we could just leave that till later, but
I want to, at this point in time,
Before when?
another alert to pop on the computer, because the computer hadn't been on for, maybe 45 minutes or so. I want an alert to pop up on the computer that says something to the effect of the text message that was sent out by Saber to the rest of the heroes, where they said, do not interfere, blah, 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 blah.
Well, now I have to interfere. That's the rule of being a teenager.
I don't think that we're necessarily interfering. I think that our own objectives happen to put us in direct conflict with the Asterons, and that just seems like a good way to skirt around that rule.
Agreed.
I think what I'm going to do next is I'm going to go chat with my mom and see what we can get from the sanctuary to get enough power together to essentially make a beacon and track down where the ritual is taking place.
Okay.
I'm not even going to say anything. I'm just going to nod my head. Yeah, that sounds like a great idea, actually. I guess we would pile out. Actually, instead of piling out of the portal, I want to go to one of the side rooms, and flip the knob, and it actually opens a portal that would dump us into hide out.
Yeah, I think maybe we see like the church and the like through the portal. What do those portals look like, by the way?
I was gonna say like Stargates, but now that you've described it that way, like portals, like the game portal, where they open up like a blue or red or type deal, and they just and you see
Okay, cool.
Like-
Do it.
like particles flowing in and out of the portals.
We the last panel being the portal opening to the church. And then, so we're going to open a panel and face Sanctuary if everyone wants to kind of position themselves in that panel, give us like what that looks like.
I think compared to the last time you were in my sanctuary, it was pretty clean and it was like pretty organized. This time it's chaos. There's printed papers everywhere, the stuff taped up on the walls, and like we fully have one of those like walls that's covered in like pictures and string and like the like crazy intense like stalker wall. The sanctuary has in the past week kind of become this like chaotic research nightmare.
So I walk in and I'm like, hey, it's just like my room.
I think my mom is sitting at the table.
Okay. Where are Ryder and Carl?
Ryder will be. Actually, Ryder's going to be right behind Faye as we walk into the room.
Okay, and Carl?
I would be next to Faye. Like, I'm sticking pretty close to Faye at this point.
Okay, cool. And I'm going to go ahead and give you the mechanics for this sanctuary move. It sounds like the problem you're trying to solve is finding the location of this ritual site.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to play this a little weird. You have 2 conditions. You need help from the entire team. Basically, I want everyone to tell me how they're helping, and then we're going to narrate just a couple quick panels of what they had to do to help. But I'm going to be very open. I'm not telling you specifically what each teammate needs to do. You all can figure that out. And it is going to... I'm going to give you your choice. You and your team will either risk danger from the cult, like this much energy while they're preparing for ritual may draw their attention, or you can mark a box on your doom track to suppress that.
I'm gonna mark a box on my doom track.
Okay. So I think we're gonna have like a montage panels here. Let's start with Estelle then, because Estelle's out doing the gathering of them herbs. Give me a couple panels how that looks, Estelle.
So you see me kind of in this back forest area, and I see these little sprouts, and you'll see my hand stick out, and you'll see kind of like a green aura beam out and touch the base of the root of the plant. And as it does, it starts cropping up smaller ones, and it starts that patch of the forest almost into a jungle-like atmosphere where the plants are just going nuts. And as I'm doing this, I start picking them, and I find a blueberry bush, and you see me popping a couple blueberries in every time I pick like 3 or 4 leaves of these herbs.
All right, awesome. So let's cut back to the sanctuary itself with Faye and Carl doing the research and all that jazz.
I think that I am mostly working on drawing the chalk circle out on the ground, but I'm like, while I'm doing it, I'm like hovering, meditating, levitating books over to Carl and being like, can you find me this symbol? And like, just like having him like catch the books that I'm throwing towards him essentially.
Now let's follow that panel into like Carl. How's that look?
Yeah, so Carl has like a bunch of different books open, and the readers can see the titles of the books, and they're all like these old dusty tomes related to the rituals and stuff and cults. But then also one of the books would be like a really silly book, like a children's book.
Can I toss out an idea I have that I think would be super cool?
Yeah,
I
go
like
ahead.
the idea of you yelling, like Faye yelling like instructions to you checking the books, and then yelling instructions to Ryder, and like forming bits of yourself into the symbols Ryder's painting. It's like give visual representations.
Yeah, that's really cool.
I think we also get a little bit of Rebecca, which is my mom, like coming in and like bringing like cookies and like lemonade. This is the first time that everyone has been in the sanctuary together to like cast a spell. She and I have done small things before, but like I think she's really, really stressed this is gonna go bad. So she like is very much like doting mom.
Okay, it's been a while since we've seen her. Can we get a physical description, like what she's dressed in?
We've never seen her before.
Okay, let's get
not
that
in this
physical
comic line.
description.
She is a shorter woman. She's about 5'2". She is Egyptian. She's got darker skin, really, really, really deep brown eyes, dark hair. Her hair is in dreadlocks. She's like half Egyptian, half black. So her hair is in dreadlocks. She wears a pretty nice business suit, like a really, really dark purple outer jacket, and then like a lighter lavender kind of inner shirt. She wears reasonable flats because she's a reasonable person, and she has pretty thick glasses that she wears. She's really, really good posture. She's a teacher. She's as a professor at Moon Harbor University.
All right, cool. And I think the next panel we get is back to Estelle. Estelle, give me a couple panels where you pretty easily deal with a like random Astron guard you run into.
An Astron guard is kind of curious because he starts seeing all these plants that were not really abundant in this forested area before. They're now cropped up, and he kind of wanders in, and he holds this really space age looking spear and points it at me, and he goes to shout something, but I nonchalantly waved my hand, and a tree limb comes down and smacks him in the back of the head and knocks him out.
And then I think we get a panel of Violet, like on her way back to the sanctuary, with just, even though it's a compressed space, just.
I think I wanted to do things a little bit cheesy, so I got sticks and got a wicker bag to keep all the plant life in, and it's kind of pouring out of the bag.
Okay, awesome. So yeah, we got Estelle on the way back, and I think in the background we see Lighthammer, and we get a couple panels of Lighthammer. Let's say that Felix at some point has texted Lighthammer, and Lighthammer is doing the original plan there. So give me a couple Lighthammer panels.
So the first thing we see is the text come through on Lighthammer's phone, and Lighthammer's like not being subtle in any capacity. Lighthammer's like fully like set up camp outside the building where the Cult of the White Death has their office. And he's like got a small crowd. And he's like talking to them about the Asterons and his recent team up with the writer, who he is casually tossing like that he's seeing. He's like, this guy that I'm seeing, the writer. And then he gets a text, and like we see a moment where like the facade kind of breaks, and he kind of like blushes a little bit when he reads the text from Felix. And then he like composes himself, and he's like, anyway, that's all. I'm gonna go now. Because he can't fly or anything. He's just gonna like confidently start walking away towards an alley. At the same time, we see him like step into the alley, hide somewhere, and then he does the thing where he like puts a soundproof bubble around himself, and he uses that to like sneak over and do some like recon for the through the window of the Cult of the White Death's office. We get a panel of like him looking through the window just as Mary Louise Roger walks in, and we see like the panel of like him looking, she steps in a frame, and then he's pressed against the wall, hidden on the like the outside of the window.
And I think we're going to cut back to Felix's phone, and I think we've got a text from Lighthammer there in a frame just to the phone. We got a text from Lighthammer that says, "I've narrowed it down," and then we're going to zoom out to giving a couple rider panels during this, like preparation.
Yeah, this is out of costume, and then I'll form into the suit when we have to actually do the ritual, like when we start it. It's just going to be like an over the top. I'm in love with over the top shots. I'm terrible at drawing them, but I love them. And you're going to see like speed lines, and you're going to see, I guess, Carl like form a thing, and you're going to see him quickly painting. But you're going to see this multi. Like it's going to be happening all really quickly. So you're going to see the speed lines, that I absolutely adore, of him going around the room painting these sigils on the ground as Carl is making each of these sigils.
Okay, cool. And I think in the background of that, we get Estelle entering back into the room, I assume grabbing a handful of cookies off the tray.
Well, no, what happens is as I'm strutting into the rooms and I'm like, hey, I got the it's like, and then I stop, I'm like, hey, Carl, catch. And I toss the basket filled with herbs, and some of them are falling out on the ground towards Carl, and then I dash over the cookies, and I'm like, well, I'll help myself. I think I did my job.
See a small panel where Ryder just like snatches the cookies before Estelle can grab them, just and moves them to the other side of the room real quick and says, not yet. And then continues going back to what he's doing.
I will become a villain just to kill you for those cookies.
And I think our next panel is like in the casting the ritual. So, Faye, I'm gonna give you. Go ahead and tell me what this panel looks like.
Can I have like 2 more panels before that?
Yeah, sure.
So when he moves the cookies out of the way, he's gonna put it down, and then I'm gonna like levitate the cookies back to Estelle, and I'm gonna be like, "Here, fine. I'm gonna take the herbs," and we see like me take the herbs, and then in the same frame, like we see my hand holding the bag of herbs. The panel is repeated, and it's that same frame, but holding a mug of clearly like brewed tea, and I'm like, and then we cut back to me sitting like right outside the circle. Everyone's kind of standing around. And I'm like, all right, well, bottoms up. And then I'm going to down the tea. And then I'm going to step into the circle.
Where is Ryder?
I'm guessing I'll be in the center, and I'll be in full armor at this point.
And Carl?
I think I would be spread out across the circle. Like there would be a lot of insects gathered around the circle.
Before the ritual starts, so is Carl doing the whole bringing Faye into the hive mind so they can chant the words along with?
We could do that, yeah.
What does it look like when we're doing a discussion inside the hive mind? Like, what are those panels? How are those illustrated?
The image that I always have in my mind when I do those scenes is that it's like inside this massive globe, and the walls are literally all insects. And it feels claustrophobic and oppressive, even though it's like a pretty big space.
And how is Faye represented in that space?
I think that Faye is in there, and like it's Faye's outline, but Faye is that like broken mirror effect. So like we get like all of Faye's body, but pieces are like slightly off center and like in the wrong place. Like it looks like there's a crack down her face, and like part of her face has been slightly slid, and like that kind of look. And her eyes are the demon eyes. I think she's like, I really appreciate you letting me do this. I know that being in here, having access to this is a pretty big, it requires a lot of trust. So thank you for letting me do this.
There would be voices coming from all around her saying, you are us, we are me.
I'm going to like reach out my hand, and I know there's not really a hand to grab, but I'm going to like kind of just like put my hand on the wall as if I'm like holding someone's hand or like pressing my hand against like an arm of someone. It's not so much like leaning on a wall. It's like an affectionate touch. And I think we open my eyes, and my eyes are bug eyes.
Carl, I'm going to give you a quick choice here. If you want, you can pierce the mask on Faye as if you rolled a 10+, if you'll allow Faye to rewrite one of your lessons. Entirely your decision. It is also your decision whether or not Faye notices that you are able to do this.
Okay. Yeah, she wouldn't notice.
Okay.
What's going on.
But I think in like peering into Faye's mind, something changes in you. So Faye is still going to get to rewrite one of your lessons.
Yeah.
Go ahead and ask your questions.
I'd like to know what she expects of me.
I expect you to help me with this ritual, and I also expect you to open up a little bit more. I feel like we still quite haven't like gotten past the weirdness yet. So I think there's a big part of my brain that's like, I expect and I want you to let me in more.
Okay. As a response to piercing these feelings and discovering these feelings, I'm going to suddenly part of the wall opens, like the wall of bugs, part of the wall opens, and so I think Faye would stretch out her hand because she instinctively understands what's going on, being part of the hive mind, and then where the hole opens up, you would see in the distance the queen, and she would be glowing, and then out walks this little dung beetle, and the dung beetle sits on your hand, which is really weird because all the other insects look the same. They're all these brown wasp-like creatures with wings. But then a little dung beetle walks out and sits on your hand.
I think I'm just gonna like rest my other hand and like almost pet the dung beetle and be like, I know, I'm here for you. Thank you.
What happens
And-
when the newborn shares a vulnerability or weakness?
If their response helps me understand human feelings and problems, mark potential. If their response confuses or offends you, shift your freak up and your mundane down.
So I think my response was being like, I understand. You don't have to say anything. I'm here for you. And then I think I do like bow, curtsy to the queen, and be like, thank you for letting me share your people.
Carl, which one are you going with?
It would certainly help me understand like human interaction more, especially the whole experience by itself of having Faye inside of the hive mind would be a situation that would teach me a lot about how humans
Okay,
think and
awesome.
act.
And Faye, what lesson are you rewriting?
What are the lessons you have right now?
Okay, I am a part of the team. A superhero should always be in control. Always have fun with your friends and never be afraid to ask for help.
A superhero should open up to those to those they trust.
Okay, and I think we are cutting back out. And give me a couple panels of what the cast in the spell looks like. Just know that it has to be, the brunt of this energy needs to be focused through Ryder.
I step into the circle first, and then I start to chant, and Carl, who is surrounded the circle with me, also starts chanting with me. Me and Myriad, our voices are just like kind of echoing in a strange unknown language, echoing through the chamber. We get a moment of like seeing Rebecca like flinch and turn away as this like white lightning starts crackling around the circle. It rushes around the outside of the circle and then kind of comes up around my hands. And then I point my hand at Ryder, and it hits him and just like rushes through him. And when the ritual is done, Ryder is going to be able to see the location where his uncle is being held.
I have a question. Would my amulet interfere or do anything with?
It does
with
not
this
interfere.
ritual?
If you want to like draw on its power and pull up the fire, that's fine. It's not going to mess up anything. But if you want that aesthetic, feel free.
I think I'm just gonna leave it out of the whole thing then.
Okay. We're going to jump to a couple panels from Felix's perspective or Ryder's perspective, since you're in. What does this look like? What are the panels of you locating this?
It would show like a short montage of multiple images flashing over. Of course, you're seeing this through the eyes of Ryder. So you're seeing this. You're actually seeing it's like an overlay. That's maybe not the words I'm looking for, but it's the overlay of the mask of what you actually see, the bug eyes, and how it focuses. But you're going to see like thousands, not thousands, probably 30, 40 in this panel, in the panels
Like
that show
various
this.
locations in Moon Harbor.
Yeah, showing them
hut.
out, and a couple of them are glowing in the eyesight, and then the entire vision begins. Like there's like 3 panels. I would say this is 3 panels, each of them in the same vision, looking first person through Felix's eyes or Ryder's eyes. And you see the first panel is just a couple pieces glowing. The second panel is all of them glowing. And then the third panel is actually, and when I say glowing, like each, because the bug eyes are, segmented.
Mm-hmm.
You see, because normally when he's looking through them, it's powered and it's got like all his HUD information,
So, like,
what he needs to know.
Like various like segments of the vision dropping, like graying out. So there's only some. So until we're at just one lit up.
Yeah, one lit up, and then that one takes up everything. It like bigifies. That's not a word. Gets big, and it takes up the entire screen. Yeah, magnifies.
Cool. And because I know you love top-down views, it's definitely a top-down view of like a remote bit of like very rocky beach, and you can see like a huge sigil like painted into the sand and across the rocks, and various arcane implements and candles and such set up, and various members of the cult moving around getting ready. And I think we cut back to like an outside view of Ryder's face.
And all he's gonna say is in the costumed Ryder voice. He's gonna say, "The beach by the harbor. I know where they're at." And then I was gonna say maybe a panel with all the energy rushing out of him.
Oh, excellent. I think Ryder like drops to his knees, just kind of exhausted, and
I would say right as soon as he lands on his knees, the armor like completely depowers, and you see it like looks like he's legitimately exhausted because of this.
Moon Harbor Heroes is produced by Anthony Sheets and TP Huth, and edited by Anthony Sheets. Anthony can be found on Twitter at Icy New Year, or at icynewyear.com. T is the host of Incubator on Air, a new play podcast available on iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, and Google Play. They can be found at T Huth Playwright on Twitter, or at tphuth94 on Instagram. Faces is GM by me, Anthony Sheets. Carl is played by Simon Meskins. You can find him on Twitter as Jill Bareka. Faye is played by TP Huth. Ryder Typhon is played by Kaido Kane. Kaido is a Twitch personality and loves their 3 mischievous cats. You can find them at the Versian on Twitter, and as Kaido Kane on twitch.tv. Violet Starling is played by Zweifang. Our logo was designed by Beautiful Beasties. She can be found on Instagram at beastly.doodles or at patreon.com/beautifulbeasties. The music in this issue is Black Vortex by Kevin MacLeod. A link to his website and the license will be in the show notes. If you want to get a hold of us, email us at moonharborheroes@gmail.com or find us on Twitter at moonharborcast. If you enjoyed this issue, please leave us a review on iTunes and tell a friend. Word of mouth and 5-star reviews are really the best way for us to keep bringing these stories to more people. And thanks for helping us save the world. We'll see you next issue.